David, thank you for joining us. Looking forward to educational, very interesting discussion. We have time and we'll open it up for a few questions. Earlier, it was all Q&A. I was very excited to be to and hit in the QR code and bring the questions. Quick introduction of our group today. Full bios are on the website. Short bios are right here. Welcome to Shelby and Caleb from Curious Refuge. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to Dave Van Boy, President of ASG. Hey, and welcome to Tom Smetham, the Homework Thinking Studio Operations Broadcast Management in ASG4. So, two of the groups have partnered with ASG to build earlier. Today's storytellers have a very wide range of options for selecting equipment and building studios and facilities. From the very low cost to very high cost, everything just starting with an iPhone all the way up to cameras, big lighting packages, big audio packages, wireless audio, wireless video, real-time editing, delivery, things that can be tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, even into millions, depending upon the number of complex and different requirements. So, our four reels today have designed, built, and are using their studio facilities to best fit their needs with great low to high. Talk about why they each work for them, why they're doing what they're doing, how they designed it to fit those needs, and hopefully you'll walk away with some good tips, tricks, and things to build your own mistake or build your own mistake without using the benefiting their mistakes and their challenges and information, and you can learn from them. So, Caleb and Shelby, I'll start with you. And what we're looking at, we've got a few images from your studio. And for those that don't know about the product you deliver, because it's the two of you.
Hello?
Audio.
Check. Oh.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello. You can speak to our studio.
Yeah, sure. I'll speak to the studio. So we run Curious Refuge. It's the world's first online home for AI storytellers. We create AI training and weekly content to distribute online on YouTube mainly. And we are a small team. And so we need to have a studio setup that is incredibly easy to use. We need to be able to just show up on set, put in a SD card, put in our battery, hit record, and we need everything to work well. And so it's a very lean setup, but it works incredibly well for us. We have strategically framed out our washer and dryer because this is in our basement. And then there's also a fun part where you have to shoo away the spiders before you record. And I think we have some video. We do a weekly AI film news segment for our YouTube channel, and I think we have a 1 minute clip. We have an automatic AI translation tool that is absolutely amazing. There's a brand new AI music tool that sounds fantastic, and AI costume design is here, and it is breathtaking. What'd you think of that, Take AI?
Wow, that was quite the intro. Let's see here. The delivery sounded really confident and engaging. You've got that showmanship down. I like how you highlighted all the AI tech with enthusiasm. The only thing I noticed was a slight hint of confusion or frustration at the end there when you addressed me as Tick AI. But overall, great job. I am impressed by your energy.
Well, thank you so much. This is your AI film news of the week.
Let's get into it then. What's the scoop this week in the world of AI and film? I am all ears. Hit me with the latest.
Well, it's been a big week, so let's take a look. So that was using Hume AI, which not only is a conversational AI chatbot, but it can judge what you're feeling as you're saying words. So fascinating tool there.
Talk a little bit more about what you were doing to build the studio and how it fits with the way that you're using it and the distribution, because right now you're doing YouTube as well as some others.
I mean, like Caleb said, it's just a lean production. So, we are trying to solve a problem of lots of echoing in our basement. So we built it with lots of sound panels. We set up our tripod with just the Sony, FX3. And so originally we actually had, we were shooting on the XC4, Fuji XC4. It required me to be in the studio directing and helping with that, but we need to be able to be really flexible. Like if a new AI tool updates, we have to immediately kind of be able to create a tutorial. So we updated our camera so that we can basically, Caleb can go into the basement without needing someone there to manage that camera.
And one quick note, so the audio is fairly echoey in our basement, and so we use the Adobe AI Enhance tool to make the audio sound better. And it's really incredible because what we found is we do typically screen recordings at the same time that we're doing our video recording, and we integrate that because it's like a tutorial experience. And what we found is the audio coming from our MacBook Pro sounds better than the audio coming from our Rode Video Mic Pro. And so we use the MacBook Pro audio through Adobe Podcast Enhance, and it typically sounds fantastic for us.
That's excellent. Sounds like I've got a little bit of audio back, so we'll work off of this. That's on the small side, and now I want to move to the larger side with Tom. Can you talk about the goals of both EA and G4 and some of the design criteria that support what you were doing with that? I think we also have a little short video for you as well. You want me to roll that? So we really do have the range today from sizing of studios. So we go from the basement to how many square feet there? You had kind of an open floor plan there to get started.
Thanks, Mark. The EA floor plan, as you can see, that was an empty office. On my very first day working at Electronic Arts, I was asked, have you ever built a studio before? The answer was no, but how hard can it be? It turned out to be quite hard, but not in the least a lot of fun. That was a 3,500 square foot footprint. The latter studio, G4, which is now the Switch, is over in what was Victory Studios in Glendale. And that is 67,000 square feet on 3.5 acres. So the difference in size is all based on the requirements of what both spaces really need to be, in terms of footprint at least.
Yeah, and we'll dig into the specifics of that in just a little bit. So, Dave, you've worked with Tom and you've worked with a lot of others along with your team you've been designing, building, integrating studios and facilities for a long, long time, and you've done a great job with that. Talk a little about choices and the flexibility that today's creatives have that wasn't possible even just a few years ago.
Yep. Yeah. One working mic. We should be happy to have one, I guess. So, across my career, I've built many studios and all kinds of different applications. Today it's both easier and harder, and all kinds of different spaces, from basements to very big facilities. And it's all about what's the use case, what's the budget, and what are you trying to achieve. And so today, for instance, as they were pointing out, the tools are a lot less expensive. You don't absolutely need a $50,000 camera. Audio is easier. There's better audio processing. You can do it on your laptop half the time. So all of these things really enabled a much lower entry point.
It was interesting on the previous panel, for anybody that was here with that, Dono had commented that when things started in the business, you went from very large teams that were required to produce these projects to smaller teams, but now you can empower with just one person. And he thought that's where things are going for the future. And I think, the two of you are representative of that. And Dave, I don't know if you're getting a lot of requests for very high-powered professional type of studios that one or two people, can run and have it look like there's an entire team there.
That's definitely a trend. People are always the most expensive part operationally, just because it's a never-ending cost. And so the more you can do with a smaller number of people, and we saw it even starting, I think, probably in broadcast news, where automation was all about getting rid of headcount. Now that goes all the way down to the basement. How much can I do with how few people? Yeah, the next employee for you would be a 33% cost, because now there'd be three of you. So that really moves the dial.
And on the flip side of that, it's also, I believe, enabling individuals or small groups to now produce with the quality that it took larger teams and huge budgets to do. So to some degree, we're also democratizing and inviting people to do this work at a fraction of the cost.
Yeah. And it varies all over. That's the big difference. It used to be you had no choice. You are always going to have a big crew. Now you can pick what's really appropriate for the content you want to produce and where you're going to deliver it.
Yeah. Tom, when you were working for both G4 and EA, these are very large companies. How did you manage expectations from multiple departments? Everything from the C-suite to finance to operations, to the technical side, and the people that were going to use it during the build out. And then, once the design and execution, was completed.
They both had different remits. EA, I was working with Joe Lynch at this point, who was heading all the broadcast there. And basically him and myself worked together, brought on Brian Bredenbeck, our engineer. And obviously the team's a lot larger now. We're going back 6 years here. We knew that the remit was going to be a 5v5 based on Battlefield and other video games that were being made. We needed a green screen. We needed one space that was versatile. And we needed one space that we could just reskin with lots and lots of different games. I've gone, oh no, man. Apex one day. It could be Battlefield. It could be Madden. It could be EAFC. And so whilst all those conversations were happening, it never really changed from that. G4 was a very different beast. We knew when we were building it that it was going to be going on linear. It was going out on fast channels. It was going to be digital. It was going to have creators using it, people who aren't used to teleprompters, people who aren't used to having, a big Grass Valley camera stuck in their face. So we knew that we had to build something that was diverse and could handle all of those different things. So the various different requests, because it was a startup in a sense, and we hadn't done it before, was kind of like throw everything at it, see if we can get it to work. and then we'll fine tune it as we go. And that's kind of a generalization of sorts, but we did know foundationally that we had 2 large stages at G4. We had to get that kitted out for linear, and then as we started working in the space, the requests came in for smaller shoots, and then budgetarily that was optimal. So we ended up utilizing the PTZ that we got from ASG a lot more. We were probably expecting to use those, that we weren't expecting to use those maybe as much as we did at the beginning, but they became really important to us. Plus, we built G4 during COVID, and we didn't have a vaccine when we started building it. We had no way of understanding what we were going to be faced with. So we built 2 control rooms that mirrored each other. So we could have half a team in one control room, half a team in another control room, and both control rooms could talk to all of the stages. So in itself, that's quite complicated. Plus, we then had all these ancillary rooms.
And not to interrupt, but that was something that you hadn't planned on in the original design for the functionality of that.
No, we would not have done. Obviously, COVID made us, it put us in a position where we had to go down that road. It actually ended up helping us because we then had a bunch of extra rooms that we used for mini studios, and they became podcast studios and other ancillary areas that we used pretty much all the time by the teams. They were plugged into master control, and they were all plugged into the control room. So in the end, the space was utilized as best, and we made the best of a tricky situation.
Yeah, because that was 67,000 square feet in that one. So, there's a little bit of room to spread out for COVID, and then you were able to bring that back together once things opened back up.
Yeah. Are we going? No. All right. Okay. So yeah, once good was done, we were back to normal, and that allowed the C-suite team and everybody to start making. So you think?
See if that one's.
How are we doing? No, this is the one that's working. It was working. No, it's hello.
Am I working? Yeah, I'm working. Caleb,
Okay.
is yours?
Does not
No,
work.
Dave.
Dead.
We can all line up here and take turns. Let me ask a long question and see if we get a working mic back. Shelby and Caleb, you had talked about kind of pivoting, for lack of a better word. I don't like that one, but it applies here. When you switched out cameras, and because, it took both of you to run that, and you were able to do it with a single operator now, so that you could be doing marketing or production or promotion or something else. That's an example of something that did change. Would you have done anything different after using the facility for a while, or are you continuing to make changes as things go and improvements in technology come along?
Yeah,
Wanna-
Yeah, let's do it.
together. Okay. I definitely think audio. We could use some improvements when it comes to sound, because we're just using the audio that comes from the MacBook right now, which is fine. It's working. And what's interesting is we do have a pretty big team. We have 11 people on our team, and we're all remote. So a lot of our operations is like more, how do we hand off files? How do we compile projects so that different team members can take them and work with them, right? So a lot of what we do is like Caleb's in the studio shooting, and then we're like working with our team all around the world really to like edit and cut together and create content and distribute that. So, Did you have anything? We are like moving soon, so it's interesting because we're gonna have to rethink our entire studio. So we could do this panel in a couple of weeks, and it would be probably different for us.
The one thing I should note is, the lighting for our productions was very, it took a while to get it right. And actually, the primary light that we use, it's an Aperture 120D with a sky dome. But we actually won that light here at NAB like 6 years ago. So I don't know what the moral of that story is, but like enter every contest you can because you may like use that technology to like fund your business in the future. So that's
true story. I won that light.
It's amazing.
So crazy. Anyways.
And your mic should be working.
Hello.
Great story. So, perfect. You talked a little bit about specifics for acquisition, editing, and delivery on the equipment that you use. Did you have specifics in mind before purchasing, or did you determine what your needs and requirements were, and then you matched the needs to the gear?
Check. Is this on? Can we hear me? A little bit? Okay. I'll just like talk really close to the mic. So we have a remote team. So we also have an upload rate of about 10 megabytes per second in our house. So you know where I'm going with this, right? So we need the file sizes to be very small. So basically we had to pick a camera format that could be small enough sizes. Like we can't upload 100, 200 gigabyte files whenever we have to deliver videos. Guys, we're in the AI space. We have hours to deliver our video before other people share the news before us, right? So we need this to be a very quick interaction. And so that is one of the reasons why we chose the Sony camera. And then we'll typically apply a LUT and get the file size down before delivery as well. And that helps with the handoff.
So how much editing are you doing? Because like you said, all of these are very, very timely, and you're almost like a news station with turnaround times.
So we plan everything. We have like a production day. Caleb goes into a hole on Wednesdays and just looking at our production notes for all the tools that have been released, all the updates. And I think you'd spend the most time producing the show, and then you spend about an hour and a half on camera. And then we deliver those assets to our editor who's in Texas, and he basically all day Thursday edits, delivers that by Thursday night. We review Friday morning to release Friday afternoon, sometimes evening, depending on timeline. So, yeah.
So, and that's another good point. Since editing is off-site, how are you moving the files over there?
We use Dropbox, just Dropbox syncing. It's automatic. Everyone has the folder synced up, and so
So are you syncing right off the camera?
No, we have to plug it in. That's a good idea, though. I like that. Maybe we can do that. But no, we just take the SD card, plug it in, and upload it. That dang upload speed. I hope none of the good folks at Spectrum are here, but I have a beef with them. Once we get it uploaded, all of our contractors that we work with they have fantastic download speeds, and so it's able to sync really quickly. And we actually are talking about bringing on a team member that is in India time zone so that we can have round-the-clock editing, so that we can send it to first cut and then delivery within 4 hours.
A funny story, we were having some internet issues recently, and Spectrum came out, and we kind of live in the mountains in Burbank, just a little bit. And it turns out there was like a bunny that had been eating the cord or whatever. And so we just had like really bad internet because of this critter, which is kind of sweet.
Interesting story. Hopefully they got that fixed quickly. There are a number of vendors here at NAB. You're in the perfect spot at the perfect time to go looking for camera accessories to be able to have your editor actually view all of that live and start the editing process even before you do that. So that could be something from the new studio.
I would be incredibly embarrassed to have our editor watching me live because I mess up so much. The power of editing is amazing, but that would be great.
What's interesting, though, about live editing is when our editor is sending the web show and our podcast for review, we use Frame.io to give feedback,
Yep.
and he live edits as we're adding notes. And so that's pretty amazing. So at the end of me reviewing, he's exporting and delivering a new cut. So that's amazing.
Yeah. Great technology today. So, Dave, when clients first come to you looking for advice, thinking about building a studio or a production facility, what's the first thing that you tell them, or what are the first questions that you ask them to kind of baseline things?
Why are you doing?
No.
Oh, is it on?
Yeah.
There we go. Let's see if we can get the game in the right place.
Yeah, we can get a little more volume out of Dave's.
The first thing I ask them is, why are you doing this? You know,
And what if they answer, we don't know?
that's pretty difficult. You know, what we have to do is tease out what are they trying to do? What's the minimum? And what tools are they going to need to get there? And so, be a physical studio, you need living room. And so today, that's really what it's got to be. Where do you start? In fact, our first engagement with Tom. Yep. I got the one with the cut. Yeah.
There's some sort of irony here with the panel about production. The microphones aren't working.
It really is.
Yeah, no problem.
I think of all the wireless mics.
Maybe we auction that one off here at the end.
That's right. It needs burial. Our first engagement with Tom's team on both those projects was all about definition. What are you trying to do? What's this going to look like? What are your goals? And that really is about creative choices. So we do get a lot of, I don't know what I need, but almost anybody who's going to create content does have some vision for what their content is going to be. So our job is to start from what is that content going to be?
Do they come to you with, I have this facility, it's, 4 walls, and I think this is what I want to do, and this is my budget? Or do they come to you before
Rarely
that?
No, our clients come to us from all kinds of different states of development of their projects. Some people have barely begun. Others have 4 walls and a roof that we have to live within. So it ranges across almost every imaginable scope.
And how long from start to finish, from first meeting to, let's call it facility completion? I know it's going to depend upon a lot of things, what the size is, what the budget is, how many people are involved, what the approvals processes are. But, how quick could you build a small studio if somebody comes to you and says, here's the budget, here's what I think I want, here's what I want to do with it?
That's almost impossible to define because, sometimes we're literally just taking a conference room and trying to figure out how to make it work, all the way out to, building facilities with isolated walls and floors. And so it really depends on that scope. But, some of them are done in days, others literally years. It's everything in between. I think that probably the fastest record Tom probably holds for what I would consider a fully built out studio that as what I call network broadcast.
And that was?
So about 3 months of very intense planning, engineering, design, and then 90 days from first nail driven to on the air.
That's very impressive.
Including pouring floors, building acoustic walls, putting in grids. So yeah, I think that holds the record.
And it sounds like everybody was focused and on top of things for that one.
We were down to the point where we were state planning sequence of people who could put wire in cable trays as to when the floor paint was going to dry.
Tom, I had talked with Shelby and Caleb about, having specific equipment in mind when you built this. And, how were the discussions with Dave, knowing what you wanted to do, and then determining what the equipment was? Was it, trips to NAB? Was it trips to specific equipment manufacturers or distributors? Or how did you decide, or how did the two of you and the teams decide what you were going to fill the studio with?
Are we on? All right. So, from my perspective, I'm looking after the contractors, as the client, I would be working with the C-suite team and trying to figure out what they want, but I'm also working with the integration team, which is ASG, for both those builds. I rely almost 100% on them for everything that we put in space. When I was first talking to Dave, and this is the same for both projects, what we do is we talk about what the remit is for the shoots and the content, and then Dave will come back with options and say, here's what you can do for X, Y, and Z, and this is what you're going to be able to do with this. And how much do you want to grow in 5 years, 10 years, related to what we're putting in? And so we would, really sit and scratch our heads about it and look at even stuff like, what kind of router was going to go in, because to say with gaming, it's, 1080, 60 frames. Do we need 4K? Probably not. And all of these things will come into practice as we started to work together more and more. But I would say that, we came to NAB a couple of times. We looked around. We chat to folks. We definitely did our own research. But once the ball gets rolling, especially in those short time frames, especially with that side of it, and Dave's kind of like also looks at the acoustic design, every holistic part of building a studio. There's just so many things that I could not be doing anyway. And so I do fully rely on the integration team for that.
No, that's a great answer. It kind of gives a good timeline. I want to move ahead to talking about maintenance and training, because, that's a key part after the facility is built and continuing to have it run properly. Can you talk a little bit about how you built that into the timeline for the facility? And is that something that your team took on afterwards, or was that something that you worked with ASG together?
So the commissioning process both times are pretty short. I think the EA was like a week and a half, which is really silly. And no one should ever do that. Because when you go on air, I remember I literally had my boss looking at me saying, if this screws up, you're dead. and I felt the pressure, he didn't really mean I was dead, but it was one of those situations where eventually, the more you can road test what you've bought and what you're installing, the more you can try it out, the more you can make sure it works, the safer you'll feel. And the commissioning process for the G4 was probably about 3 weeks, which still isn't that long. But as usual, you've got, to deal with the sales department. I've got sales to make, and we're going on as, X time, because that's when we're going to start making the cash. So all of these pressures kind of put you into that sort of mindset. But training wise, the teams that were there from ASG would either provide resources for us to work with us from an engineering capacity and help us, learn our studio as we just built it and figure out how we're going to get to the next stages. We would, have our own in-house team as well to work on that side of it. But it really depended upon the size of the facility. One thing we did experience, I think with both, is that there's a lot you can automate, and you're being relied upon more and more to automate things. So from a staff utilization, from a stage utilization, it's all done through project management software tools, including production requests and anything that came into the team. I had less than 10 people running a network that ran 24 hours at G4, and that includes the engineers.
Wow.
And so, it does need to be automated as much as you can. So
I'm assuming that you didn't need as much maintenance or training for, your facility. Talk a little bit about, does the facility, does it break? Do you have an issue once in a while? How do you remedy that? Do you pick up the phone and talk to the manufacturer? Do you go down to Best Buy or somewhere else and pick up, a new whatever you need?
We go to Best Buy anytime we can. It's just too fun. and talk about what we need that we don't need.
Does the Geek Squad come out? Because I just haven't installed TV. They were great.
No, not at this point. But it's interesting. At Curious Refuge, because our team is remote, we do a lot of training via Loom. I don't know if you've heard of Loom, but it's incredible. You can have just like a Chrome browser and record your screen, and it has a little, picture of you that it's recording you as well with your webcam. So that's amazing. We use that for everything. So, in lieu of meetings, we do that for training, and we have instructors on our team that will teach them the tools we use for creating content, and we introduce them to Loom. They can rewatch the video to keep familiarizing themselves and then start training themselves. So.
Yeah, and because we use that tool, I'm talking specifically about our post-production pipeline. We were able to, one of our team members had a baby and went on paternity leave, which is amazing. But when you're a small team, that's a huge percentage of your workforce that is now gone. And so we had to have a contractor come in, but because we had that training documented, he was able to really step in without beat, and he did a really great job. But if we have any technical issues, YouTube, we just go to YouTube, and there's some 14-year-old in his mom's basement that is helping me fix the problems in my basement. So
that's the same training tool that I use for everything that I need to do and learn about. So we're running out of time, and I've got two quick questions. The first one is, are you prepared for a few years into the future? I know that you're moving facilities, and is that going to take you 2, 3, 4, 5 years, or are you going to do another upgrade, or is it going to depend on where the business goes?
Yeah, I would say in terms of the current technology, we were just sticking with the YouTube format that we have right now. We could continue with the tech that we currently have, and I think we'd be in a pretty good spot for the next few years. Maybe venturing a little more into this real-time editing. I like that idea. But, at Curious Refuge, we are building out the prototype for what the future of an AI-generated or AI-assisted production studio looks like. And so with that comes the increase in technology that we'll have to bring to the table. And so a lot of those questions will be answered in the coming months and years. And I know a couple of people that I'm going to be calling whenever we try to answer those questions.
So, Dave, when you build a facility, how do you best prep it for, moving into the future with, let's call it easy upgrades, or, the ability to take that to the next step, assuming that they've given you the information on where they want to go, or you've given them the information on where you believe they want to go?
Every business has to live in a budget. And so it depends a lot on, it's always finding the balance between what you want to spend now and what you're going to end up spending later. Sometimes you can do a little more upfront that's going to save you a lot later. Sometimes you just don't have that money and you have to do what you have to do. And so it's constantly in motion in that way. We try to really prep people so that people don't have to redo things when it's, whenever possible. But, I started out at a time when people were recording records on cassette decks, and nobody wanted to record on a cassette deck. But if it got you your contract, it's what you did.
Yep.
And this is the same. This does what they need to do. Someday, who knows? They may have a building in Burbank. You never know. But today, it does their job.
Excellent. And since you've got the mic and it's working, I'm going to start with you. Quick answer to the question, what is the best piece of advice that you were given when designing, building, or updating a production studio? Or Dave, maybe in your case, what's the best advice that you give to people?
Wow. So many things along the way. I would say, probably the best advice is to think creatively. Think about what content you're creating. That's probably the most important thing you can do, because there's so many ways you could do it, from very low budgets to very high budgets.
Yep. Tom?
Same with Dave. It's difficult to pinpoint one thing, but, when you've got a budget, don't spend your contingency, even if you really think you should. Hold on to it for as long as you can, because you are going to spend it, but on something you can't think of right now. Redundancy, don't live near any rabbits. That's obvious. Or get 2 internet lines in, just make sure that it's a long lead item. Check out your long lead items. Look at what takes the longest thing to get to your studio. Find out what that is and get it first. Because that is the one thing that will delay every single thing you do.
Good advice.
Yeah, I would say get started with what you have. If you are looking, and especially as a creator, if you're looking to create, just start and upgrade, iterate, and upgrade in those iterations, and just get started with your iPhone, whatever phone you have. But
I agree.
Perfect. We are out of time. If you'd like to get in touch with any of them, please zap the QR code and join me in thanking our panel. And thanks to you.